pair were among the 5 suspects in the murder of the black teenager Stephen Lawrence. When they appeared at the Lawrence inquiry, Norris, in a blue shirt, lashed out at protesters.
My son was stabbed and left to bleed to death on the night of the 22nd of April 1993, while police officers looked on. They treated the affair as a gang war, and from that moment on acted in a manner that can only be described as white masters during slavery.
The death of Stephen Lawrence and the role adopted by Stephen's parents in highlighting the injustices they have felt did, in my view, cause the Home Office, when Jack's Law came, to be looking again at the implications of that death across the whole criminal justice system.
The struggle experienced by the Doreen and Neville Lawrence, we could associate with. Fighting the establishment every step of the way, we could associate with. Having your views dismissed and marginalised, we could associate with. It was the black experience.
Nearly everything that we thought the Stephen Lawrence inquiry was going to be about was proved to be wrong initially. Thinking it was about, first steps at the scene of crime or, various things like that. We never got to the institutional racism. Once you get to the institutional racism point, then you realise it's going to touch all kinds of other things, like the internal grievances.
I had a conversation with an official at the Home Office who confided in me that this issue of racism was not understood, that the issue of institutional racism was not understood by the establishment.
We were being told that we were living in a racist organisation. I remember Jeff Brathwaite telling me, you are living and working in a racist organisation and this is why. I said, no, this is what racists do. They wear white hoods and burn fiery crosses on your front drive. No, this is what it looks like.
I was contacted by Paul Wilson, and I learned that he and some of his colleagues in the Black Police Association really felt that some of these fundamental issues affecting not only the police but other organisations in a modern society like Britain were in danger of not being addressed. He knew of my views and my experience and suggested that maybe I should write something which would both help the BPA to be in touch with thinking around institutional racism, and that we might in fact submit this a paper to the Lawrence inquiry as evidence.
It was a very emotive experience reading Robin's paper, because for the first time it crystallised an experience that I'd lived through in academic terms that the Metropolitan Police and indeed anyone else would find very difficult to refute.
We were equipped to put in a significant piece of work with a written submission, which obviously made it quite clear that the organisation was institutionally racist and highlighted certain recommendations, which obviously launched us into another level.
When the BPA presented to us, they gave a presentation that was short and succinct and to the point and really constructive and helpful. And when we went through the swing doors, we almost skipped with excitement. At last, 3 thoroughly professional police officers.
Their contribution would be the effects of what institutional racism have done within the police force. That I recognise, because they are the effect of it. And so I think that's what their contribution was, is as a black police officer, they're able to say, yes, this is true, and this is what's been happening to us.
Some of the most powerful evidence that was given by black police officers about the organisation that was giving totally different evidence to the public inquiry. That's the first time I can think of that, that one group of officers within the same organisation have given evidence against another group of officers in the same organisation.
We in the Met feel a sense of shame for the incompetence of that first investigation and for how the family were let down. As Sir William has made quite properly clear, we failed, we could and we should have done better in this case.
The fact that the BPA was very bold and very direct in its evidence to Macpherson, and it stood out on this issue, gave it a personality, gave it a profile, and helped them to arrive.
When Lawrence happened, it was like jumping on the most, you know, the fastest, bumpiest roller coaster you could imagine, and that was it. Things just went. And I think that first year after Lawrence was kind of, everybody was kind of bedazzled and kind of thinking, well, you know, where am I? Because so much happened.
The political imperative was there, and that meant that people were listening and felt the need to listen. And so they've been able to make a difference in a way that I suspect without that Macpherson report that they wouldn't otherwise have been able to achieve.
I remember walking into this very hot and packed room, again naively thinking that I was going to be speaking with the Home Secretary.
You walk in there and there's like twice as many officials as there were us. In fact, I think I counted 12 of them and 4 of us.
I think his opening remark was something along the lines of, well, hello, welcome, and Black Police Association Chair, and do you have an annual general meeting? Yes, I do, sir. Would it be useful if I spoke at that meeting? It would be very useful, sir. Good. When is it?
3 key figures at the centre of the current debate on police and racism. The Home Secretary, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, and in the middle, and in the minority, Paul Wilson.
For the first time, Black Police Association would be officially placed on the map as an organisation that was recognised by government and that was indeed encouraged by government.
I'm delighted to be here today, which is your 4th annual meeting, but it's the first one which I have addressed, to speak to you all and by my presence, and I hope also by what I say, to demonstrate my strong support for your organisation.
It was the most memorable day in my police career because I had I remember crafting this speech, and it went down well. And I do remember during the speech I talked about the lack of black faces represented within the police service unless it's on a photograph in the custody office.
Jack Straw was keen to personally identify with what they were about, which was a very, very brave thing at the time, because you have to understand that not many senior police officers up and down the country were jumping up and saying that this was a wonderful thing and the second best thing next to sliced bread. I mean, I've heard 1 or 2 of them in private conversations talk about how devious and insidious and how this type of organisation would undermine the morale of the service.